Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum everyone. Welcome to MK Preparations. I Miss Amna Sattar. Today the topic that we will discuss is educational psychology. So first you need to know that what is educational psychology. एजुकेशनल साइकोलॉजी में डिफरेंट एस्पेक्ट्स आते हैं जिनसे रिलेटेड MCQs को हम वन बाय वन डिस्कस करेंगे. सो बेसिकली इट इज़ द स्टडी ऑफ हाउ पीपल लर्न. इट इंक्लूड टीचिंग मेथड्स, इंस्ट्रक्शनल प्रोसेसेस, और जैसा कि हमें पता है कि हर इंडिविजुअल डिफरेंट है फ्रॉम द अदर इंडिविजुअल, तो उनमें लर्निंग डिफरेंसेस भी होंगे. तो वी विल स्टडी दोज लर्निंग डिफरेंसेस एज वेल. And educational psychology also explore the cognitive, behavioral, emotional and social influence on learning. So we will move towards the first MCQ. Semantic memory is memory for meaning, memory for personal experience, memory for motor skills and memory tied to place. You have given 4 options and you have to select the most appropriate one. So first you need to know that what is semantic memory. Basically it involves the collection of ideas, concepts and fact, और इसको हम long term memory भी कह सकते हैं, और it can also be regarded as general knowledge. जिस तरह के एक आप किसी चीज़ को किसी फैक्ट से याद रखते हैं या आइडिया उसका एज अ जर्नल नॉलेज आप उस इंफॉर्मेशन को मेमोराइज करते हैं, उस तरह की मेमोरी को सिमेंटिक मेमोरी कहते हैं. जिस तरह के यू कैन सी हेयर इन द फर्स्ट पिक्चर, a boy remember about apple, that apple is eatable, it grows on tree, it is red in color, it is sweet in taste. So these are all facts that he remember about the apple. So this kind of memory is semantic memory. ऑप्शन बी आप देख लें, मेमोरी फॉर पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंस. अगर आप किसी चीज़ को याद रखते हैं किसी पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंस से रिलेट करके, तो इस टाइप की मेमोरी को हम कहते हैं एपिसोडिक मेमोरी. फॉर एग्जांपल यू कैन सी हियर इन द सेकंड पिक्चर, इफ़ यू विजिट एन एप्पल गार्डन विद योर फ्रेंड्स, तो you remember the apple garden, the picture of an apple, that it grows on the tree, it is red in color, it is sweet in taste. तो अगर इस तरह से आपको वो चीज़ें याद रहती हैं किसी एक्सपीरियंस से रिलेट करके, तो इस तरह की मेमोरी को एपिसोडिक मेमोरी कहेंगे. बट सोमेटिक मेमोरी इज़ मेमोरी दैट इन्वॉल्व आइडियाज़, कॉन्सेप्ट्स एंड फैक्ट्स, और उसको आप एज अ जर्नल नॉलेज जो है उस इंफॉर्मेशन को याद करते हैं. तो बेसिकली ऑप्शन ए इज़ करेक्ट. Now moving towards the second slide. Which school of thought Sigmund Freud belongs to? So first you need to know that there are different schools of psychology and different scientists or different psychologists gave different schools of thoughts. The first one you can see here is cognitive psychology, then humanistic psychology, and psychoanalysis, behaviorism and Gesell psychology. In cognitive psychology you study the mental processes. In humanistic psychology you focus on individuals free will. अब ये different schools of thought जो हैं आप further MCQs and further slides में देखेंगे. So here I am explaining all of these so you can get an idea and you can simply solve those MCQs by yourself. Next is psychoanalysis. It studies the unconscious mind. Behaviorism, it focuses on the observable behavior of an individual, of an organism. And Gestalt psychology study the mind and behavior as a whole. इसमें Gestalt psychology में हम different segments में नहीं behavior को break करते, बल्कि individual का as a whole जो behavior है उसको observe करते हैं. सो उन्होंने हमसे यहाँ पे पूछा हुआ कि सिगमंड फ्रॉइड ने कौन सा स्कूल ऑफ थॉट एक्सप्लेन किया था. सो ही एक्सप्लेन्ड साइको एनालिसिस, जिसमें हम स्टडी करते हैं अनकॉन्शियस माइंड को. ऑल राइट. Next is trial and error theory was presented by Pavlov, Thorndike, Skinner or Brunner. So basically this theory was presented by Thorndike and he performed an experiment to explain this theory. In this experiment he placed a cat in the container or in the box and placed a food outside that container. The cat will now move here and there in the box and it will accidentally press that lever. When the lever will be pressed, the door will open and cat will move out and will move towards the food. Now again he will place the cat in that container. Again the cat will move here and there and will accidentally press the lever and then the door will open. So through different trials and errors, the cat will learn that pressing the lever will open the door. So by practicing it again and again, the cat will learn this type of theory, he called it as trial and error theory. Next is Pavlov's work with cat, rats, rabbit or dogs. So basically Pavlov worked with dogs and he explained classical conditioning. इसको मैं further slide में next MCQ में आपको explain करूँगी. Alright, in guidance the role of teacher is as, so the role of teacher with the student should always be so good कि आपका teaching learning process जो है वो बिल्कुल smooth गुजरे. तो a teacher should always should always behave like a helper to the student, so there will be no gap between the student and teacher. They can easily communicate the problems, the situations. So if a teacher would act like a judge with the student, with the learner, तो आप देखेंगे कि जो स्टूडेंट्स हैं वो अनकंफर्टेबल फील करेंगे और उस तरह से अपनी प्रॉब्लम टीचर से नहीं शेयर कर सकेंगे. So the teacher should always play a role as a helper. Next, stimulus play a dominant role according to classical conditioning, operant conditioning, both A and B, none of A and B. So इस MCQ को करने के लिए सबसे पहले आपको बताना चाहिए classical conditioning क्या है, operant conditioning क्या है. So first I will explain you what is basically classical conditioning. Classical conditioning में क्या है कि Pavlov he provide food to the dog. Food is stimulus here, and in response dog produces salivation, right? Second time he just rung the bell and in response dog do not produce any salivation. Third time he rung the bell and he provide food to the dog and in response dog produces salivation. Fourth time he just rung the bell and in response he saw dog produces salivation. So here you can see stimulus basically play an important role in producing the response of an organism, right? So now you can see the MCQ that stimulus play a dominant role in classical conditioning. Here it play an important role in producing response of an organism. And now I will explain operant conditioning. उसमें भी आप देखेंगे कि whether stimulus is playing an important role or response is playing an important role. Alright, in operant conditioning you can see here in the first picture that a rat presses the lever and the rat was awarded with the food. So basically the response of an organism increase the behavior of the rat. Rat will press the lever again and again and he will be awarded food, right? Or in the second picture, when rat presses the lever he got punishment. So the punishment, the behavior, the response of an organism decreases the behavior of the rat after pressing the lever. When he will get punishment तो उसका वो अपना बिहेवियर डिक्रीज कर देगा, बार बार लिवर को प्रेस नहीं करेगा. सो हेयर रिस्पॉन्स प्लेज एन इम्पॉर्टेंट रोल इन ऑपरेंट कंडीशनिंग. ऑलराइट, सो रिस्पॉन्स प्ले अ डोमिनेंट रोल इन ऑपरेंट कंडीशनिंग. नेक्स्ट, कॉग्निटिव थ्योरी वाज रिप्रेजेंटेड बाय ब्रूनर. फर्दर हम इसको डिफरेंट स्टेजेस जो हैं वो फर्दर MCQs में डिस्कस करेंगे. Alright, projective techniques are used to measure. So first you need to know that what are projective techniques. Projective techniques में we allow the respondent to project their opinions, beliefs onto another person और फिर respondent की real feelings हम infer करते हैं जो कि वो कहता है what he or she says. So this kind of techniques they are used to check the personality of a person. So here you can option C is correct. इंटेलिजेंस वगैरह आप एप्टीट्यूड टेस्ट IQ टेस्ट से चेक कर सकते हैं. सो प्रोजेक्टिव टेक्निक्स जो हैं आप स्मॉल इंटरव्यूज़ में या इंडिविजुअल इंटरव्यूज़ में यूज़ करते हैं टू चेक द पर्सनैलिटी. Causes of frustration is a state of dissatisfaction. So when the forces in the environment they are negative, when the people in the environment they are criticizing you, you will get frustrated. Personal weakness, if for example if you are suffering with a certain kind of disease and you are not confident enough, so you will get frustrated. Next, conflict among your motives. If you do not know your certain kind of motive or a certain goal and you have and you set different goals, तो आपको किसी एक गोल का अपने नहीं क्लियर माइंड में, यू गेट फ्रस्ट्रेटेड. सो ऑल ऑफ अबव इज द आंसर. In pre-operational stage, child learns. First, you need to know all the developmental stages, cognitive developmental stages, ताकि आपको पता हो कि किस स्टेज पे आपके पास कौन सी चेंजेस हो रही हैं. सो पाइगेट ने हमें ये एक चार्ट दिया था जिसमें उसने 4 स्टेजेस को एक्सप्लेन किया था. द फर्स्ट वन इज सेंसरी मोटर, द अदर इज प्री ऑपरेशनल, देन कंक्रीट, देन फॉर्मल ऑपरेशनल स्टेज. Now in the sensory motor stage, you can see it is from birth to the 2 years. इसमें क्या होता है, a child he understand the world through senses and through actions. In pre-operational stage, it is from 2 to 7 years. The child he start giving expression, he learns the language, and mental images को understand करना start कर देता है. In concrete operational stage, it is from 7 to 12 years. Now the child understands the world through logical reasoning and categories. He meets with the people, he start making decisions, right? So in this stage, all these factors are included. In formal operational stage, basically mental development is complete, and child start थिंकिंग साइंटिफिकली, रीजनिंग से वो समझना शुरू कर देता है, क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग, क्रिएटिविटी का फैक्टर इसमें आ जाता है, इमेजिनेशंस, एंड ऑल दीज फैक्टर्स कम इन ऑपरेशनल फॉर्मल ऑपरेशनल स्टेज, एंड इट इज़ फ्रॉम 12 years to onward. Right, so next we will have 5 to 6 MCQs that you can easily solve by yourself. In pre-operational stage, so child learned language and ability of expression, जो कि मैं आपको already explain कर चुकी हूँ. 2 to 7 years में child language भी learn करेगा और ability of expressions भी. Next is child begin to understand the principles of conversation at concrete operational stage. Yes, in concrete operational stage, as you will meet with the people, start talking, तो फिर उसको इन प्रिंसिपल्स के बारे में भी पता चल जाएगा. नेक्स्ट इज इन कंक्रीट ऑपरेशनल स्टेज, चाइल्ड इंक्रीजेस नॉलेज, मेक डिसीजन, मीट पीपल. सो ऑल दीज फैक्टर्स आर इंक्लूडेड. ऑप्शन डी इज करेक्ट. ऑल राइट, मेंटल डेवलपमेंट रीचेज एट इट्स क्लाइमेक्स इन फॉर्मल ऑपरेशनल स्टेज, दैट इज फ्रॉम 12 to onwards. The main characteristic of formal operational stage is imagination, aesthetics, and creativity, all of above. I explained it earlier in that chart. Thinking and reasoning is the characteristic of formal operational stage. All right, the term emotion is derived from a Latin word that is emovere. आपने इसको ऐसे ही याद रखना है. Next, emovere means stir up, excite, agitate. If you see the word emotion, it means and to excite. So here stir up also means excite, and agitate also mean excite. They are synonyms. So all of above is the answer. And basically emotion is an excited state to a specific stimuli. The word moral is derived from a Latin word that is mos, and mos mean manner, custom, habit. So D is the correct answer. The theory of psychosocial development, it was presented by Erikson. इसको हम further MCQs में discuss करेंगे. Theory of moral development was presented by Lawrence Kohlberg. All right, hierarchy of need, it was represented by Maslow. It is very important chart, and you will see related 2 to 3 MCQs of this chart. So Maslow presented this hierarchy of need, and you can see the most important is the psychological need, then safety needs, then love and belongings, then esteem, then self-actualization. So the most important one is the फिजियोलॉजिकल नीड्स. ठीक है, अगर आपसे आप कोई भी क्वेश्चन कर लें कि इन मैस्लो हायरार्की ऑफ नीड which factor comes fourth in series, तो आप देख सकते हैं कि यहाँ पे फोर्थ पे एस्टीम है, थर्ड पे लव एंड बिलोंगिंग है, फिफ्थ पे सेल्फ एक्चुअलाइजेशन है. राइट, सो यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड दिस चार्ट प्रॉपरली. Physiological needs में we have air, water, food, shelter, sleep, clothes, and reproduction. On safety needs we have personal security, employment, resources, health, property. Right, so moving toward the next one, Concept of discovery learning was given by Ossible. और discovery learning basically है क्या? In discovery learning, students they are encouraged to construct their own knowledge through self-directed learning process, and it is also called as instructionless learning. All right, Albert Binet worked on intelligence test, and he was the first scientist who built intelligent test. Stimulus that strengthen the response of an organism is motive, reinforcement, conditioning और response. तो सबसे पहले आप देखें कि मोटिव क्या है. मोटिव इज बेसिकली अ स्टेट दैट डायरेक्ट ऑर्गेनिज्म एनर्जी टुवर्ड्स अ स्पेसिफिक रोल. राइट, ऑल ऑर्गेनिज्म एनर्जी टुवर्ड्स द स्पेसिफिक रोल. तो यहाँ पे आप स्टिमुलस इंपॉर्टेंट रोल प्ले करता है? नो. नेक्स्ट सी ऑप्शन, कंडीशनिंग. तो कंडीशनिंग आई हैव एक्सप्लेन्ड यू दैट in classical conditioning, Pavlov's experiment. So this option is also wrong. Response is also wrong. Reinforcement is the answer कि जिसमें stimulus जो है वो strengthen करता है response of an organism. According to Maslow, the most important are physiological needs. Physical growth are affected by biological, environmental, both A and B, or none of A and B. So physical growth entirely or mainly depends on these two key factors, that is biological factor and environmental factor. If you are genetically weak, if you are suffering with the disease, you cannot grow properly, your physical growth will be effective. If the forces in the environment, they are negative, then your physical growth will be affected. So answer C is correct. Learning means change in environment, change in society, change in culture, and change in behavior. It is basically the change in behavior. First book on psychology was written by Aristotle. Educational psychology is the branch of, it comes in applied psychology. The discipline of psychology is since the birth of man before Christ 17th century or relatively new. So psychology, it is basically the study of behavior. So जब से ये दुनिया बनी है, since the first man, तो तब से ही आपका ऑब्वियसली बिहेवियर इज एसोसिएटेड विद द पर्सन, तो तब से ही साइकोलॉजी का डिसिप्लिन है. Behaviorism is associated with J.B. Watson. All right, if a student of an age 11 years from psychological point of view, he or she is placed in childhood, boyhood, adolescence or youth. So childhood, it starts from 2 to 10 years and adolescence starts from 11 to 18 years. So a student, he will be placed in adolescence. A need is to food as a motive is to. So basically motive is a state in which which directs all organism energy towards a specific goal. So motive is to आपने देखना है जो perfect इसके साथ match करे. जिस तरह एक ज़रूरत के लिए food चाहिए आपको, तो motive को क्या चाहिए? Hunger, no. A certain kind of food, money with which to buy goods, the smell of food. So motive is to a specific goal. So here option B is most appropriate one, that is a motive is to a certain kind of food. के motive में आपको पता है कि आपको इस certain kind of food को reach करना है और goal को. Semantic memory is, it is memory for meaning, जिसमें आप किसी fact ideas से उसको as a journal knowledge याद रखते हैं. Motivation is best defined in terms of internal forces within the individual, external forces applied, punishment or measures applied to promote learning. No, motivation always come from internal forces. Internal forces, it basically push the man or an organism or an individual towards a specific goal. Which come third in series in Maslow classification. So here you can see love and belongings, it come third in series. Or if you will be asked which come fifth in series, then it is self-actualization. The most of the difference in interest are due to difference in sex, age, experiential background or opportunity. Yes, when the individuals, they share different interest, it may be due to sex and it may be due to age, but opposite sexes may have same interest, but if they will experience different backgrounds, then there are more chances that they have not more chances, it is obvious that they will have difference in their interest. क्योंकि हर किसी का लर्निंग जो है वो डिफरेंट है. अगर आपका सोसाइटी के साथ या इन्वायरमेंट के साथ आपका जो एक्सपीरियंस है दैट इज़ गुड पॉजिटिव एनर्जीज एंड यू फेस इफ़ यू फेस एप्रिसिएशन, अगर आपको अप्रिशिएट किया जा रहा है, यू हैव डिफरेंट अपॉर्चुनिटीज़, यू विल ग्रो डिफरेंटली, आपका जो बिहेवियर है दैट विल बी डिफरेंट, योर इंटरेस्ट वुड बी डिफरेंट. इफ़ यू आर फेसिंग criticism from the environment or from the society, from peers, from colleagues, your behavior will be different, your learning will be different, and your interests will be different as well. The interest of boys in sport reaches at its peak in pre-adolescent period, like in 10 years, 9 to 10 years. Change in behavior results from motivation alone or learning alone. So both these factors, they are involved in the change in behavior of an organism. Obviously, when the internal forces push you towards a specific goal, और या आपको बिहेवियर चेंज करने में आपको उसमें तो मोटिवेशन भी रोल प्ले करेगी और लर्निंग भी रोल प्ले करेगी. एट बर्थ द एवरेज वेट ऑफ फुल टाइम बेबी इज़, या आपको इसी तरह याद रखना है कि बर्थ के टाइम पे बॉयज़ दे आर 8 पाउंड एंड गर्ल्स दे आर 9 पाउंड्स. एट बर्थ विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग इज क्लोजेस्ट टू इस्ट एडल्ट लेवल. So it is very important: brain weight, number of brain cells, number of bones or length of arms and bones. So at the time of birth, आप देखें ब्रेन वेट जो है वो भी कुछ ईयर्स तक आफ्टर बर्थ इट चेंजेस, इट इंक्रीज, बट द नंबर ऑफ सेल्स इन एडल्ट एंड इन द न्यू बॉर्न they remains same, they are closest to the adult level, and the number of bones, they also increases from the time of birth to some specific years, or length of arms and legs, they comes in physical growth. Obviously they will increase when the individual grow. An emotion is best defined as, I already explained you that emotion is an excited state in response to a stimulus. Emotion mean to excite, to stir up. So it is basically an excited state. Emotional response to symbolic stimuli is primarily as a result of any emotional response to a specific stimulus is called as learning, because you learn and then you show it emotionally. The first emotional expression that appear in an infant is fear. Obviously it's not delight, it's not general excitement, it's not anger, it is a state of fear. The greatest degree of insecurity is due to affection, anger, hatred or fear. It is due to fear. Obviously you feel insecure. आप जब इनसिक्योर किसी से तब भी फील करते हैं जब आप डर रहे होते हैं. All right, the best known study on social development is that of part 10. The most fundamental agency in the life of boys and girls is the home. The first school in your life is your home. सबसे पहले आप अपने घर से सीखते हैं, because so option C is correct. Then after school, after home, it will be school, then the society. The mental development is closely parallel to, basically when you mentally develop, you learn something from the environment through your experiences. So it is parallel to, अगर आप different options देखें, mental development, ability to memorize, ability to get along with other, ability to profit from experience, the number of new cells. So mental development में आप क्या करते हैं कि you learn new things by experience, through experiencing different things, ठीक है, through different interactions. तो इसमें क्या है, और फिर आप मेंटली ग्रो करते हैं, मेंटली डेवलप करते हैं. तो इस तरह ऑप्शन सी इज करेक्ट. Intelligence was presently defined in synonym with native capacity, ability to reason, emotional control और scholastic test. आपने इसमें देखना है कि intelligence किससे synonymously इसको हम relate कर सकते हैं. तो it is option D, scholastic test, because scholastic aptitude, they are basically a test that are used to measure the basic skills of an individual. That include their critical reading, mathematical skills, which is measured by in intelligence. So in intelligence, verbal ability इसका आंसर है, because mechanical ability is not to be measured by an intelligence. इसका mechanical ability का intelligence से कोई लेना देना नहीं है. Both A and B or spatial ability, not spatial ability. Intelligence measures journal aptitude, innate aptitude, academic potential or spatial. So intelligence tests, they are basically designed to check the academic potential of students. जर्नल एप्टीट्यूड में आप क्या करते हैं, एप्लीकेंट का एप्टीट्यूड चेक करते हैं, इन विच एप्लीकेंट एप्टीट्यूड टू एड्रेस द चैलेंजिंग सिचुएशंस, एंड इननेट एप्टीट्यूड क्या है, नेचुरल टेंडेंसी और इनबॉर्न टेंडेंसी, एंड स्पेशल में एबिलिटी टू थिंक एंड ड्रॉ कंक्लूजन. सो बेसिकली इंटेलिजेंस टेस्ट ऑप्शन बी इज करेक्ट, मैंने बताया एकेडमिक पोटेंशियल चेक करने के लिए यूज होते हैं. सो अरेंजिंग द ऑब्जेक्ट इन सीक्वेंस according to one aspect is called as seriation. So ये seriation की definition है, इसमें आप you can see here in that picture also. अब आपको ये different terms यहाँ पे उन्होंने दी हुई हैं, तो आप इन टर्म्स को देख लें. सेंट्रेशन, क्योंकि फर्दर एमसीक्यूज में यूज होंगी. सेंट्रेशन में बेसिकली क्या होता है, इट इज़ एक्ट ऑफ फोकसिंग ऑन वन करेक्टर रिगार्डलेस ऑफ द अदर. इफ़ यू कैन सी वन एग्जाम्पल के जिसमें एक केक को हमने कट किया है इनटू डिफरेंट पीसेस और आपने डिफरेंट स्टूडेंट्स में इसको डिस्ट्रीब्यूट कर दिया है, तो एक जो चाइल्ड है ही विल फोकस द नंबर ऑफ पीसेस ऑन ईच प्लेट रिगार्डलेस ऑफ द साइज. कि वो सिर्फ एक चीज़ पे फोकस करे कि किसके पास कितने पीसेस हैं. ही इज़ नॉट फोकसिंग रिगार्डलेस, उस पॉइंट को बिल्कुल इग्नोर करे कि साइज ऑफ केक क्या है. दिस इज़ बेसिकली कॉल्ड एज सेंट्रेशन. नेक्स्ट इज़ एनिमिज्म. एनिमिज्म में आपके पास है that child understand that objects, they have lifelike qualities, they have feelings, they have emotions, right? Egocentrism is a state where a child understands that or thinks that others share the same perspective as they do. So here option A is correct. Mental age, basically it is associated with लेवल ऑफ मेंटल मेच्योरिटी. जब भी आपके पास मेंटल एज की टर्म आएगी तो आपने इसको इसकी जो ऑप्शन है कि मेंटल एज होता ही क्या है, चेक करना कि लेवल ऑफ मेंटल मेच्योरिटी क्या है, राइट. मेंटल एज हमेशा लेवल ऑफ मेंटल मेच्योरिटी को आप कहेंगे, तो जहाँ पे भी एमसीक्यू आया आपने लेवल को टिक कर देना है. मेंटल एज ऑफ अ चाइल्ड इज मेजर्ड इन द, इट मेजर्स बेसिकली द लेवल ऑफ मेंटल मेच्योरिटी. रेट ऑफ मेंटल ग्रोथ, नो, इट इज़ नॉट rate of mental growth. Innate mental potential or intellectual status. IQ is an index of rate of mental development. अब जब rate of mental development की बात आएगी तो वहाँ पे आप IQ की टर्म यूज करेंगे. level of mental development में you use mental age, right? So जब IQ की बात होगी तो IQ आप लेते हैं to check the rate of mental development. Which type of health of a child is of utmost importance that an elementary school teacher should keep in mind for the growth of the child? So, as in elementary school, a child is going through many hormonal changes, many physical changes, emotional changes. So, the teacher should always keep all these factors in mind: physical factor, mental factor, and emotional factor for the growth of a mind. So, option D is correct. What do we learn better according to Thorndike law of exercise? So we have discussed in the previous slide that practicing it. तो law of exercise जो है वो है practicing it. How do you define psychology? Study of behavior, study of soul, study of consciousness, study of mind. So answer B is correct. और जब आप behavior को study करेंगे इसी में आप consciousness भी आ जाएगी and study of mind भी आ जाएगा. Jean Piaget was born in Switzerland. Alright, the subject matter of educational psychology is inferred from problems being faced by parents, problem being faced by educational administrators, problem being faced by textbook writer, problem being faced by classroom teachers in classroom. जिस तरह मैंने स्टार्ट में आपको एक्सप्लेन कर दिया था कि एजुकेशनल साइकोलॉजी में डिफरेंट एस्पेक्ट्स हैं, and in aspects where we study the learning differences in individuals, we study the teaching methodologies, we study instructional processes. So it is basically educational psychology. It is linked with a learner and the teacher or the learner. तो इसमें option D जो है that is most appropriate one. An external state of mind of a person which forced to do something is aroused as a result of some internal need of a person is called as motivation. So we have discussed it already कि internal forces when they push you toward some specific goal, these are called as motivation. The age measured by an intelligence test is, so it is measured is called mental age, right? WISE is the intelligence test for WISE is basically a Wechsler adult intelligence scale, and it is used to test for high school students. The growth and learning of a child, it is affected by both heredity and environment. Obviously, the physical growth, both heredity and environmental factors, they are key factors for the growth and learning of an individual. So, agar aap, option B is correct. C is correct. Both A and B. Right? Control is important characteristic of introspection method, observation method, experimental method, and case study method. So control, it is important characteristic of basically experimental method in which you perform experiment. Two groups are involved, right? Cognitive development deals with child mind. Right, so it deals with child mind or cognitive theory that was represented by Piaget. Usko bhi we have studied it already. Identical twins, they are identical in development, intelligence, growth or learning. So जो identical twins हैं, they can be identical. हो सकते हैं कि वो intelligence में भी same हो, growth में भी same हो, development में भी same हो, but they cannot be same in learning because they will experience different experiential backgrounds. They will have different they will have different experience with their society, with their peers, with their teachers. So उनकी जो learning होगी, it would definitely be different. Alright, IQ of 7 years old child with an MA of 8 years old would be placed in IQ distribution table as, according to IQ distribution table, ये जो इन्होंने age difference बताया हुआ है और IQ difference बताया हुआ है, इनको हम average category में place करेंगे. The central concept in fluid psychoanalytic theory is, we have studied it in the previous slide, that psychoanalysis theory, it studies the unconscious mind. Moral development involves what is right or what is wrong. So basically when you are developing morally, so a child able to understand that between the right and wrong. Those relatively stable and permanent aspect of individual which make them unique, but also which also allow people to be compared with each other, is called as personality. So personality is the point that makes you unique from others. It's self-concept, psychology, individual difference. No, it's personality. An individual who is socially maladjusted develops immoral behavior. Obviously, when you are less adjusted to the society, when you do not know how to behave with the society or how to tackle the problems in the society, so you will develop a very wrong behavior that is called as immoral behavior. Educational psychology revolves around three areas: the learner, the learning process, and the learning situations. ठीक है, क्योंकि different learning situations का different impact होगा on the learner और फिर उसका different behavior होगा. So इसीलिए इधर हमने learning situations को add किया है. The term growth is usually used in purely dash sense. Growth obviously it is used in purely physical sense. ठीक है, growth जो है वो हम जब भी देखते हैं तो वो उससे हमारे ज़हन में physical growth, purely physical growth आता है. Try to understand something new by fitting it what is already known is called as assimilation, right? So first you need to understand that what is assimilation, and यहाँ पे मैं आपको बताऊंगी assimilation और accommodation के बारे में. Assimilation क्या है कि process in which new information is taken into the pre-existing scheme, right? You store new information. जिस तरह आप कह लें, for example, it is like filling of the existing container. You have a container that is already filled with some information and you add some new information in it. So assimilation is like that. And if you read the statement, try to understand something new by fitting it what is already known. कि आप known information में जब कोई new information add करेंगे, that is assimilation. इसको हम assimilation कहते हैं. अब अगर आप accommodation को देखें तो accommodation क्या है? That is acquiring the accommodation of knowledge. It involves the accommodation of knowledge. और आप reshape कर देते हैं उस container को. That is called as accommodation, right? The logical goal directed action of a child start at, so the logical reasoning, creativity, it starts at formal operational stage. Bechdel scale is used to measure intelligence. Simple. All right, so the age of 6 to 12 years, as narrated by Erikson in his theory of psychological development, is concerned with the stage of trust versus mistrust, anatomy versus doubt, initiative versus guilt, industry versus इन्फीरियोरिटी. तो आपने देखना है कि एरिक्सन ने हमें ये चार्ट दिया था साइको सोशल डेवलपमेंट पे. इस चार्ट के अकॉर्डिंग, इस एज के अकॉर्डिंग उसने हमें क्राइसिस बताए थे कि इन्फेंट से 18 मंथ्स तक जो आप क्राइसिस फेस करेंगे इंडिविजुअल्स में, जो उनकी डेवलपमेंट में देखेंगे, दैट इज़ ट्रस्ट वर्सेस मिसट्रस्ट. और 18 मंथ से 3 ईयर्स तक का जो बिहेवियर है उसमें आप देखेंगे अनॉटमी वर्सेस शेम. 3 to 5 ईयर्स में इनिशिएटिव वर्सेस गिल्ट. सो दे हैव आस्क्ड कि फ्रॉम 6 to 12 ईयर्स आप क्या फेस कर रहा है चाइल्ड. सो ही इज़ फेसिंग इंडस्ट्री, ही इज़ कंसर्न्ड विद इंडस्ट्री वर्सेस इन्फीरियोरिटी. और इंडस्ट्री वर्सेस इन्फीरियोरिटी में क्या है, इंडस्ट्री में क्या होता है कि आ चाइल्ड डेवलप्स द सेंस ऑफ कॉम्पिटेंस एट सम यूजफुल टास्क, and in industry school provides the opportunities, right? While in inferiority child, he faces lack of confidence in his own ability to do things well, and the child will get negative response from the family, from the teachers, from the peers, and that will contribute to the negative feelings of the child, right? इसी तरह आपसे किसी भी MCQ के बारे में पूछ लिया जाए कि 22 to 24 years में what is the psychosocial development of the child, so you will call it as intimacy versus isolation, right? So these are different stages. You need to learn this chart. 81, a child acquires the ability to solve abstract problem in logical fashion is in the period of formal operational method, right? क्योंकि उसमें critical thinking, logical thinking आपके पास formal operational stage पे होती है. Edward Thorndike is known due to his contribution to the operant conditioning. Process through which experience causes permanent change in knowledge or behavior is called as learning. Obviously, change in behavior is due to learning. All right, the age of 3 to 6 years are narrated in the theory of psychosocial development is concerned with. So आपने देखा है कि 3 to 6 years में आप के पास जो stage होगी that is initiative versus guilt. और इस state में what is initiative? It is basically that the child, he is actively, they can develop social skills, they have heightened sense of initiative, make rational decisions. और जो आपके पास गिल्ट में है, a child he faces criticism और punishment that develop the feeling of guilt, और उसकी वो अफेक्ट करेगा पर्सनल ग्रोथ को. सो 3 to 6 years में जो स्टेज होगी that is initiative versus guilt. The process by which human organism become favorably related to the environment is called as adjustment. तो adjustment basically आपके पास है ही ये कि कोई भी habitual strategy of overcoming the obstacle in achieving goal or adaptation to the changes is called as adaptation. Consciousness आपके पास क्या है? Consciousness is awareness of unique thought, right? Maturation is process where behavior is modified as a result of growth or physical structure. Assimilation, I have already told you, assimilation is the process in which new knowledge is taken into the pre-existing scheme. So adjustment is the appropriate option. The immediate awareness of any object is called as consciousness. Adjustment, behavior और creativity, no. Immediate किसी भी चीज़ की awareness को हम कहते हैं consciousness. The discipline concerned with teaching and learning process applying the method and theory of psychology is called as. अब इसको आप easily answer कर सकते हैं, सारे MCQs जिससे हमने related कर लिए हैं, तो it comes in educational psychology. The learner and learning theories are studied in psychology, philosophy, ontology, sociology. So these are studied in psychology. Orderly adaptive changes individual go through from conception of death is called as, obviously it is organization, development, assimilation or adaptation. Obviously the answer is development. कोई भी changes जो individual from the time of birth till death को experience करता है, it is called as development. Changes in body structure and function over time is called as physical development, personal, social or cognitive. It is physical development because growth of an individual, it is associated with physical right? Changes by which mental processes become more complex is called as physical development, personal, social और cognitive development. So जिसमें आपके पास different mental processes involved होते हैं that are more complex, and we have discussed it in the previous slide, जिसमें हमने different pre-operational stage, formal operational stage देखी थी. तो उसमें आपके पास complex factors involved थे, जिसमें critical thinking आहिस्ता आहिस्ता develop हो रही थी, reasoning, creativity आहिस्ता आहिस्ता language develop हो रही थी. तो cognitive development जो है that is more complex. Psychologists define heredity as transfer of character from newborn to the newborn from their parents. The characteristic of an object stays the same even through the object might changes in appearance is called as conservation. Assimilation का भी आपको पता है, accommodation का भी पता है. These options are wrong. And constructivism का भी पता है. और basically constructivism आपके पास क्या है कि जिसमें an individual they construct new ideas and knowledge in their minds through different experiences. ठीक है. अब यहाँ पे this is basically conservation in psychology, जिसमें a child he understand that physical quantity do not change in amount if the apparatus will be changed या आप कोई चीज़ change करते हैं. ठीक है. So here you can see the physical quantity it remains the same, और लेकिन आपके पास jar change है. A mental process that occurs when a child adjusts to new information is called as accommodation. View that emphasize the active role of learner in building knowledge and understanding is called as constructivism. Constructivism में मैंने आपको explain कर दिया है कि it is basically constructing knowledge in the mind through different interactions with the environment, and it argues that learner have an active role in thinking through mulling and coming to the logical conclusion, and they build prior knowledge. तो ये सब चीज़ें हमारे पास कंस्ट्रक्टिविज्म में आती हैं. सिमुलेशन, कंजर्वेशन एंड अकोमोडेशन को मैंने ऑलरेडी एक्सप्लेन कर दिया है. सो यहाँ पे कंस्ट्रक्टिविज्म इज द आंसर. द स्टेट व्हेन द पर्सन रियलाइजेस दैट हिज हर करंट वे ऑफ थिंकिंग आर नॉट टू अंडरस्टैंड द सिचुएशन इज कॉल्ड एज डिसइक्विलिब्रियम. सो यू नीड टू नो दैट व्हाट इज़ इक्विलिब्रियम एंड डिसइक्विलिब्रियम. तो आपको इक्विलिब्रियम ऐसी स्टेट है जिसमें आपके पास न्यू इन्फॉर्मेशन इट इज़ अंडरस्टूड विद द एग्जिस्टिंग वन, राइट. आप न्यू एग्जिस्टिंग भी आपके पास कुछ नॉलेज है, फिर न्यू इन्फॉर्मेशन आती है, यू अंडरस्टैंड दैट आइडिया प्रॉपरली. एंड डिसइक्विलिब्रियम इज अ स्टेट व्हेन न्यू इन्फॉर्मेशन इट कॉन्ट्राडिक्ट्स विद द प्रीवियस वन, right. So here you can see the MCQ that the person realizes that his current way of thinking are not to understand the situation, क्योंकि इसमें disequilibrium आ गया है. उसकी जो करंट इन्फॉर्मेशन है वो कॉन्ट्राडिक्ट करिए प्रीवियस के साथ, तो इस स्टेट को हम कहेंगे disequilibrium. Assuming that the other would experience the world the way you do is called as egocentrism. It is a child developmental stage in which child understand that other they share the same perspective as they do. तो इस चीज़ को हम कहते हैं ईगोसेंट्रिसिज्म. एनिमिज्म में they feel that objects have lifelike qualities, they have emotions, they have feelings. और कंस्ट्रक्टिविज्म में मैंने बता दिया है कि child construct ideas in their mind through different interaction. Next is a search for mental balance between cognitive scheme and information from the environment is called as equilibration, right. अब equilibration में है क्या कि आपके पास जो current knowledge है and new knowledge, current knowledge है और जो previous knowledge है when it match, तो आपको वो क्या होता है equilibration, right. Basic structure or framework that exist in person mind to organize and interpret information is called as scheme. So स्कीम बेसिकली आपके पास किसी भी चीज़ का जो आइडिया है. फॉर एग्जांपल इफ़ अ चाइल्ड ही नो दैट cat cat has is a four-legged animal and it meows, और उसकी कोई भी it has fur on his body. तो ये वाली कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स अगर आपके कैट की जो भी आपके पास नॉलेज है उसकी एक स्कीम आपके माइंड में है, इसको हम कहते हैं स्कीम. बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर और फ्रेमवर्क किसी भी चीज़ का. The ability to use symbols to represent is called as semiotic function. आपको अब मैंने seriation का भी पता है, centration का भी पता है. तो symbols को जब हम use करते हैं to present something is called as semiotic function. Simple. And thank you so much, and I hope you understand all the important points. Thank you so much, everyone.